me. Let's start from the beginning and see what is it that we can be able to. Let's start from the beginning and then be able to identify where the challenges are, unlike me starting at the end or in the middle. So let's start from the beginning, work together, and see how far we can be able to go. This is where you all started. Eh? Those other challenges that you mentioned are not here, are in the upcoming chapters. Do you agree? Do we agree? Are we in agreement?
Yes.
Not for every one of us. Sir, can you assume we know nothing? And then start from the beginning and explain everything to us, kind of like laying groundwork for those of us who've been struggling from the start.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now let's start here. We'll see how far we go, how far we get. Now, applications of linear functions. In here, the most important thing that we'll be talking about is the concept of revenue, cost, profit, the concept of demand and supply. We'll also be talking about price elasticity of demand and supply, and also making calculations based on those subtopics that I just mentioned. Now, let's start with revenue, cost, and profit. Okay. Please, everybody, what I've observed is that the things that are in the modules, or the modules that you are actually going through, are just not things that are taking place in the moon or in the sun, if there are people living there in the sun. Are things that are taking place where? On this earth. Things that you and I are actually experiencing on a daily basis, unless we are ignorant. Now, even though you and I don't have, are not running any businesses, some of our friends or our family members might be in businesses. So for you to can be able to understand the concepts that are actually being shared with you, try to make what is being shared with you as practical as possible. Okay. Faima, give me any business that you can think of.
A construction business.
Construction business. I don't see the others here. Who else do you see, Faima, amongst us?
Marikana.
Yes, yes, okay. Marikana, please ask Marikana to tell us any other business that he or she can think of.
Marikana, can you hear us?
Restaurant business.
Please repeat.
Restaurant.
Restaurant
Sorry?
business.
Restaurant business. Thank you. Now, you and I are familiar with this. Faima, you said construction. Marikana said restaurant. Yes. Construction. They are building houses, they are building roads for us. Restaurants. Yes, we go there, we buy food. Yes, yeah. Now, the things that we'll be talking about in this chapter are related to any type of business that you can think of.
Bongani, please name any type of business.
Any type of business.
Yes, that you are aware of.
Types of businesses. As in sole proprietor or the type of ownership or type of business?
Any. I'm sleeping under the bridge. You see, I'm staying under one of the bridges in the area where you are staying. So let's not make this thing complicated. Any business that you can think of.
Maybe tavern.
Okay, tavern is one of them. All right.
So
Now,
or yeah.
Yeah, you said tavern. Yes, it's a
Okay.
tavern. Now, all those businesses that you mentioned, now let's take them and apply them in this chapter. Okay?
Okay.
Yes. We all agree that the intention of any business, anyone to embark into a business, the idea is just to make profit.
Yes.
Yes. So we are saying, in order to calculate the profit from an operation, it is necessary to determine what the operating costs or operation costs, and what income will be generated. Operating costs, we are referring to the things that you need to spend on to run the business, so that at the end of the day, you can be able to generate income. Now, when it comes to cost, they say cost is anything that you need to pay for or that you need to give up in order to get something for the business. The intention of the business is to make money. In business, cost is an amount of money that represents what? An effort. The material. Any material in any business. Faima said construction. Cement will be involved in there. The purchase of water will be involved in there. The purchase of those big machines will be involved in there. The resources, such as maybe people to operate those machines. Even the time is a resource that is needed. The other thing, the utilities consumed. The things that you are actually using during the operation of that business, such as if you are using petrol, using diesel, the risks incurred in any business. Some of them might be to say, I made a loan. Will I be able to repay this loan? So those are some of the risks. Another risk that one can think of is to say, okay, I've got employees, but these employees are stealing from me. You see, that is a risk. Because if they're stealing from you, then you won't be able to generate the income, and then you will not be able to make the profit. And then at the end, you will not be able to pay your debts. Opportunities that might have been missed in the process of producing something or delivering services. Total cost is broken down into two costs: fixed costs and variable costs. It's given by this formula. TC, which is total cost, is equals to FC, which is fixed cost, plus variable cost. Now they are saying fixed cost is the expenses or cost that does not change when the number of items that are produced or sold changes. Can anyone give me any type of a fixed cost in any type of business?
The salary.
Salary. Salary. Who said salary?
Mahot.
Mahot. I'm not disputing that, but please share with us, how do we then emphasize that indeed they are the fixed costs? Fixed, they are not changing.
I would say if you have employees, and then
Yes.
you have informed them that they will discuss a salary increase after 5 years. So within the 5 years, that is already been discussed, so it's fixed. It will not change. It will change after the 5 years, after the increase, or whatever the case may be.
That means over that period, you know that one of your costs, which is salaries, is fixed.
Yes.
We agree. Thank you, Mahos. So they're saying fixed costs are expenses that have to be paid by a company, independent of any business or activity. Now, let's come to variable costs. Variable costs depend on production output. You are producing, then there is a linkage here. There is a production and an output. You are producing.
Sorry, sir.
Hello?
Yes, just on the fixed cost part, as we were talking about an example of a tavern, what would be the fixed cost of a tavern? Is it the alcohol they're selling, or is the property they use to sell the alcohol from, or like the rent and everything? So which one is the fixed cost in this example of a tavern?
Is that Bongane?
Yes.
Yes, my brother. It is not you and I here. Ne? We are all in this together. Now,
Yes.
everybody, all of us in here, Bongane has brought us a scenario here. His question is to say, in the operation of this business of a tavern, what will be the fixed costs?
So for me, I think the fixed cost, it will be the rent and the utilities. That will be the fixed cost on that tavern business.
Okay, hang on. Who's talking?
The wrestling one.
Wrestling one. The
Yes.
rent. Rent.
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
please talk to them whether they agree with you on the rent or what?
Because for me, I think the rent like it doesn't change whether is selling or not. So the rent like will still stay the same.
There I agree with you. Let me not say I agree with you. I hear you. But my request is that please ask them or talk to them whether they agree with you to say rent will be a fixed cost.
Yes, I also think the rent is the fixed cost as well.
Who's talking?
Bongan.
Thank you, Bongani. And I don't think it's Rasilingwani and Bongani and Fahima and myself here. What are the others saying?
I also think the rent will be the fixed cost because it doesn't change on a short period of time.
Who is talking?
Tepo.
Thank you, Tsepo. Remember, in a business, there is what is actually termed. What is this term? There is either a lease, is it a lease agreement, or there is an agreement that is being entered into between the owner of the business, let's say you are renting a building. So there will be an agreement between the owner of the building and myself as the owner of the tavern to say, over the next 3 years, this will be the amount of rent that I'll be paying monthly. So yes, we can consider that as the fixed cost. Now,
And also, as I see it says the expenses there. I think the expenses of the tavern to run are also fixed costs, including the salaries, as someone mentioned, salaries and other expenses, including rent and maybe telephone expenses and other things that the tavern needs to operate.
I hear you. I think you mentioned a number of them. Now, I'm not categorizing, I'm not saying what you said is actually relevant or not irrelevant. Now, let's move on to the next type of cost that we need to talk about, which is the variable cost, because they depend on the type of business that one is actually operating. Are we in agreement there?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
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 Now, let's look at the variable costs. Variable costs depend on what? On production output. It is a constant amount per unit produced. These costs may include the cost of raw materials used in production, the cost of utilities like electricity, labor costs, sales commissions to be paid. Now, labor, let's take, for example, labor costs. Let's say this company of ours or this business of ours, regardless of the type of the business, let's say is operating from 8 to 5. Let's say 8 to 4. But there are times when the demand is high, then where we might find ourselves requesting our employees to work an extra hour. Under labor cost, which type of cost then will we be incurring?
Overtime.
Or let me say, which costs when we request our employees to work an additional hour or an extra hour, instead of them knocking at 4, then we request our employees to knock off at 5. Any types of cost that you might think of, any types of reasonable cost that you might think of that the company will incur?
Yeah, if you're gonna ask your employees to work an hour over and above their normal working hours, you might have to incentivize them by saying you'll pay them overtime for that 1 hour. And then obviously your business is still open, so your utilities like maybe electricity, water, other costs that would have ended at the end at 4 o'clock at the end of the working day will now continue running, will continue being used for an additional hour. So I would say definitely the utilities, depending on the whatever business you're having, you might end up pushing production more in that hour. And if it's, let's say, the construction business, for example, you're going to be using more water, more electricity because your machinery is running for an additional hour, and your overtime for your labor, etc.
Thank you. Is it Fahima?
Yes.
Thank you, Fahima. If there is diesel that is being used, those trucks or those machines will be using additional diesel. Petrol, You mentioned them. Now, they are saying variable cost. You know, that's why I'm saying to you, each and everything that you are studying, please try to make sense out of it. Faima, it's not witchcraft. You have been praying in the last few minutes.
No, it's not witchcraft.
It's not witchcraft. You know, are things that we are just experiencing or being part of. Some of them, okay, let me say, are some of the things that we are experiencing. Some of the things we are even part of the process. But being part of the process, passively being in the process, some of them being actively, depending on the business that other people will be running, the ones that we go to buy their services or to request their services. Variable cost is calculated as the quantity of goods produced. Quantity of goods produced, or what? Or services offered, multiplied by the cost per unit. Variable cost is calculated as the quantity of goods produced. Remember, goods and services go hand in hand, multiplied by the cost per unit. Q representing the quantity, C the cost per unit. Are we clear up to so far?
Yeah,
Yes,
we're
sir.
together.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now, the linear total cost function is equals to fixed cost plus variable cost. And then can be graphed by using either the slope and the vertical line or any 2 points on the line, e.g., just referring to the Cartesian plane. We are all familiar with the Cartesian plane, eh? The x and the y axis, all 4 quadrants. This is what they are referring to. This is what I'm referring. Even though these two are small, you can extend them to be of the same length as the others. Now, in this case, they say, consider, for example, the total cost function. Total cost function to be TC to be equals to 20 plus 4Q, where Q, we agreed, that is what? Quantity of goods produced. And C, cost per unit. Consider, for example, the total cost function. TC is equals to 20 plus 4Q, with FC being equals to 20, VC being equals to 4Q. To graph the function, we know that the intercept on the vertical axis is 20. A, where Q is 0, A is the slope. Oh, okay, let me just explain it in my own words. TC is equals to 20 plus 4Q. Then how do we plot this in the Cartesian plane? All right, we let TC, which is the total cost, to be equals to 0, meaning in the place of TC, then we have 0. If we've got 0 in the place of TC, then we've got 0 is equals to 20 plus 4Q. Do we agree? Hello?
So can I please ask something there?
Yes.
So how do you see or the TC is on y-axis and then the The X and Y's. Or which one should be on Y-axis and the other one on X-axis?
Okay. Who's talking?
Russell one.
Wrestling one. My brother, let me ask you this question. Again, we are not judging each other here. We are just helping out each other. Okay. Wrestling one, from high school, do you still remember the equation of a straight line? Or have you forgotten?
The one straight line.
Straight line, yes. Do you remember the formula for an equation for a straight line or a formula for a straight line?
Yeah, MX plus C.
Mx plus c, but there is something missing. What is it? There is something missing. I agree with mx plus c, but there is something missing. Anyone, please help Wrestling one.
Yes, sir. The equation of the straight line is y equal to mx plus c.
Who's talking?
Bongani.
Thank you, Bongani. Y is equals to mx plus c. Wrestling one. Okay. Wrestling one.
Yes, sir. I'm still on the line.
Okay. Do you remember now?
Yes.
Yes. Now, if you and I remember that y is equals to mx plus c, now let's take TC, which is equals to 20 plus 4Q. Please write it down.
Yeah, I did.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, remember that in order to solve a straight line, in order to get x-intercept, y must be 0. Okay.
Yes.
And then in order to get x-intercept, y must be 0. And then to get the y-intercept, x must be 0. Do you still remember?
Yes.
Thank you. Now here, in this case, our y is TC. Now, if TC is equals to 0, then we've got 0 is equals to 20 plus 4Q. Now, let's talk you and I. Do we agree that for this equation can be written as TC is equals to 4Q plus 20? Wrestling, do we agree?
Yes.
It's still the same thing, ne?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, if you and I agree, do we agree that if we put TC to be 0, we'll have 0 is equals to 4Q plus 20? All right?
Yeah.
Then, now we can solve this equation for what? For Q. When we solve it for Q, then we will have 4Q is equals to, meaning on this side we add minus 20, then we also add it on the other side. Are we together?
Yes.
If we do that, then our Q is equals to minus 5. Do we agree?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Q will be equals to minus 5. But now, here, what they said, that is how we'll get the value of Q. And then in order to get TC, if we are going back to our initial agreement to say TC is the same as y equals to mx plus c, then that means that that q will have to be 0. If that q is 0, then TC will be equals to 20. Are we still in agreement?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think
Yeah.
Q is the x-intercept if we let TC equals to 0.
If we take this formula and then we see it in that way, we write it in the form of a straight line and then we try to solve for x and then we try to solve for y. Then we'll have our q to be equals to -5. And then our y, that means q will have to be 0, then TC will have to be, which is y, will have to be equals to 20. Do we agree?
Yes, sir. If Q equals to 0, then Y equals to 20 TC.
Okay. Now, if that is what we are saying, what did these people then say? They say consider, for example, total cost is equals to 20 plus 4Q. With FC being equals to 20, fixed cost being 20, variable cost being equals to 4 times the quantity. To graph the function, we know that the intercept on the vertical axis is 20. Any disagreement on this one? No disagreement. Then that's how then this y-intercept of 20 then came into being. But then if we are saying TC, if we let TC to be equals to 0, then Q, meaning we take 20 to the other side, then Q will be equals to -5. But now, these are figures that we are actually using. That is why it is actually not even negative. That is why it is positive. And then how do they then get this point of 5 and 0? They're saying when we take this point, when Q is 5, that is how it is drawn. Q is 5, then that when you put 5 in the place of Q in this equation of T is equals to 20 plus 4Q, what do we get? We have got TC, which is equals to 20. But we already calculated what the value of Q is. We agree that the value of Q, we found it to be -5. But in this case, it can be negative. We consider it to be a positive. Then when we put +5 in the place of Q, that means we have got 4 times 5, which is 20. Then this becomes 20 plus 20. That's why then we end up having this point here, 5 and 40, as the point of intersection.
Can I ask,
Is
why do we, sorry? Why do we change the value of Q to be +5?
okay. Give me any other business again.
Any other business?
Yes, any other business that you can think of.
Let's say ShopRite.
ShopRite.
Yes.
Give me anything that ShopRite is selling.
Food.
Which type? Be specific. Food
Be
is a variety.
specific.
Which one?
Let's say maize meal.
Maize meal.
Yes.
Good, my brother. Good. Maize meal, ne? Now, if we are saying ShopRite is selling maize meal, now, let me ask again. Who am I talking to? The one who said ShopRite and then said maize meal. Okay.
Bongan. It's Bongan, sir.
Yes, Bongan. Yes, Bongan. You and I, let's walk into ShopRite, okay? And go to that shelf which has got maize meal. If they've got 10 bags of maize meal, will we say they've got minus 10 bags of maize meal? What are we going to say?
We'll say they have 10 bags of maize meal, sir.
If they've got 100, what are we going to say?
We'll say we'll have 100. Okay. I think now I understand that quantity cannot be negative.
Because once you and I start to say they've got negative 100 maize meal, that means ShopRite stock is less by 100. Meaning, if on the shelf they were supposed to be having 100, that means there will be spaces for those 100. Do we agree?
Yes, I agree, sir.
Okay. Do we all see it from that angle?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Now, then, from that discussion, then I believe then it makes sense how then they've been able to plot this graph from TC, from this formula, TC equals to 20 plus 4Q. Now, let's go and talk about revenue. We are all in this country. Eh?
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone outside the country? No. If we are all in the country, then this should make sense to you. Okay. Let me not say this, what I'm about to say, what I needed to say. I'll say it after we have talked about this revenue. Revenue, they're saying, in retail stores, the prices of products are usually fixed. Prices of products are fixed. Marigana. Is Marigana still here?
No, she's not.
Okay, I've noted Fahima Bongani. Now I'm a scratch for Marigana. I've got wrestling one. Who else is okay? Let me just quickly do this. Let me come here. We've got Mahotso. Monique, Monzimune, Tepo, and Fahima. Okay, now let me come back here. In retail stores, the prices of products are usually fixed. The amount of money that a storekeeper will receive from selling a certain product is called total revenue. from the product. Sepo,
Sir,
how are you?
I'm good.
Okay. Please tell me any business again that you can think of before I can ask you what I need to ask you.
Okay, furniture.
Furniture. Which
Yeah.
one? You said okay. You said okay furniture.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay furniture. Please give me the price of any product in OK Furniture. Meaning you give me a product
And the
in
price.
OK Furniture, and then that product, you also give me the price.
Hisense 32-inch TV.
Hisense 32
inch television.
television.
Yeah.
Yes. What is the price?
2,599.
2,599. Thank you, my brother.
Okay, sir.
Now, that's Sepo. Sepo, let's say today,
Yes,
let's say yesterday, under the very same situation, under the very same situation, under current conditions. Yesterday, let's say you bought this very same TV for the price that you gave me. Then Monique goes today. You bought it yesterday. Then Monique goes to OK Store Furniture. What price would you expect Monique to pay for the very same TV that you bought?
the same price that I pay.
The same price. Thank you. Now, that is what we are saying. That is why here they are saying in retail stores, the prices of products are usually fixed. Now you and I agree, Sep. You bought this TV yesterday or even last week for that price. Then tomorrow, Monique goes into the very same shop to buy the very same TV for the very same price. So those prices are fixed. That's why I said under the very same conditions, unless the interest rate have changed. We are all aware of that, eh? The change in the interest rates. Yes, no.
Yes, sir.
No.
Yes.
Are we aware of the impact or the effect of the change in the interest rate?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Do we agree that under the same condition, taking into account that there hasn't been a change in the interest rate, then the price for that TV will remain the same? Thank you. Now, the amount of money that a storekeeper will receive from selling a certain product is called the total revenue. That means the storekeeper knows that if he has got this number of TVs and then selling them for that price, then the storekeeper already knows that, okay, after selling 10 of these TVs, this is how much money will I be able to make. That is what we are referring to as total revenue. Total revenue is calculated by multiplying the price per unit. Price multiplied by unit. Total revenue is equals to Q, which is the quantity sold, multiplied by P, which is the price for selling the product. TR is equals to QP or PQ. It's just the same. Now they are saying, if, for example, a product is sold for 10 Rand per unit. Total revenue is given by, let's look at the equation above. They are saying total revenue is equals to price times quantity. Now they say to us, if, for example, a product is sold for 10 Rand per unit, what is it that we know? We know the price per unit. Okay, it is 10 times Q. Is this making sense? What I've highlighted?
Yes, sir, it's making sense.
We only know the price. We don't know quantity of the product sold. Now, this function is plotted as shown in figure 2.2. Note that the slope is 10. The vertical intercept is 0. The line goes through the origin. Now let's look at this figure 2.2. Okay. Meaning here we have got TR equals to 10Q. Now, if we've got TR equals to 10Q, okay, then we can be able to find what TR is. Meaning, if we put any value, if we choose any value for Q, we can be able to get the corresponding value for TR. Monique.
Yes, sir.
Give me any value that you can choose, any value that you would like Q to be.
5 is fine.
5, ne?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we are saying TR is equals to 10Q. Total revenue is equals to 10Q. Now, Monique, when you say Q is 5, that means 10 times, in the place of that Q, then we are going to put that 5. It's going to be 10 times 5, ne?
Yes.
Then that will be
50.
50. So do we agree that on this, do you see this figure 2.2? That on the x-axis, beyond 4, then we'll put that 5. And then on the vertical axis or the y-axis, above 40, then we'll add 50. Then
Yes,
we
sir.
will have a point where 5 and 50 intersect. That line will be moving from the origin, through the origin, to that point of 50 and 5. Do we agree, Monique?
Yes, sir.
Please give me another value for Q.
7 is fine. And then it's 70 for TR.
7, then TR will be 70. Do we agree?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Then we'll have the very same coordinate of 7 and 70. This line will continue to grow further up. I'm happy that you are able to see the pattern now. Now, let's step off revenue. Let's talk about profit. Profit. Profit is the surplus that remains after total costs have been deducted from total revenue. Profit is the surplus that remains after total costs have been deducted from total revenue. A company's success is usually measured by the profit it makes. Please give me any. When I'm saying any, I'm referring to any company within our country that we are all aware that it is not making profit. Hello?
Maybe ESCOM?
ESCOM. Thank you, Faili. Another familiar one?
SAA, if they're still in existence.
SAA. We even question ourselves how it is surviving. I think it's because of the bailouts. So those are the types of companies that we can be able to mention to say these companies really, they are just not making profit. Now, having said that, we say profit is calculated by subtracting total costs from total revenue. How should I put this? Okay, I will say that after when we talk to this other point here. Profit is calculated by subtracting total costs from total revenue. That is, profit is equals to total revenue minus total costs. Remember at the beginning what total cost is. Remember this formula?
Yeah. Yes.
So now, in the place of total cost, they just put fixed cost plus variable cost. That is still the same. Do we agree?
Yes, we
Do we
agree.
agree or not?
Agreed.
Are you sure that we agree?
We agreeing, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Let's look at this note here. We say total revenue equals to total cost. When is total revenue equals to total cost? When no profit is being made. And we say at that point where total revenue is equals to total cost, that point when you draw these two, if you are to draw the graphs, that point is the point that we refer to as the breaking even point. When total revenue equals to total cost, that point we refer to as the break even point. Now, when total revenue is greater than total cost, that is what we need. If there is no corruption in some of the companies that we talked about, then we'll be able to realize profit. Do we agree? And those companies will be able to sustain themselves without bailouts. Now, when total cost is greater than total revenue, now we are in trouble. We are making a loss. Making a loss. In the Shebeen business, You buy beers. You are not even stealing them from the brewery. You are buying them at the price that the brewery is requesting you to buy them for. But in your warehouse, your employees constantly steal them. At the end, we will then be sitting with this situation where the total cost will be greater than the total revenue. Because you will be, let's say you bought enough to can be able to make the revenue that you projected. But because they stole, you will sell less. Even if you sell all of them, you would still have made loss because some of them have been stolen. You will not even be able to reach that point, that break-even point. You will remain to be below the break-even point. That is the state that we refer to as an organization making a loss. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Thank you. Example. A tuck shop at the station has fixed costs of 600 per week. They sell this tuck shop at the train station. I don't know which train station is that. Has fixed costs of 600 per week. They sell pies at a fixed price of 25 Rand each. While the production cost per pie, meaning the amount it takes to produce one pie, is 10 Rand. Yo, these people are making more than 100% profit per pie. It takes them 10 Rand to produce one pie. And they are selling it for 25 Rand. Yo, okay. We assume all the pies that are produced will be sold. The tuck shop's total cost function is total cost equals to fixed cost plus variable cost. We have been told that the fixed cost is 600 per week. And then we know that it takes 10 Rand to produce one pie. So that is why we have got 10 times Q. Are you still with me here?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Where Q is the number of pies produced per week. Their total revenue function is price, TR, total revenue is equals to price per pie times the number of pies sold. So we know that they are selling each pie for 25 Rand, but we don't know how many they sold or they will sell. So the product function is given by the profit, not product, sorry. The profit function, therefore, will be given by profit will be given by total revenue minus total cost. Total revenue, we agree, is given by price per pie times the number of pies minus total cost, which is given by fixed cost plus variable cost. In this case, which is 600 plus 10Q, which is over there. Now, all right. Then we'll have 25Q minus 600 minus 10. 25 minus 10 will end up having 15Q, then minus 600. Are we still in agreement? Are you still with me, people?
Yes.
Or am I alone? Faima, is it the two of us here?
No.
Oh,
No, we are still here, Steve. You understand?
okay. Now, this from the graph, it is clear that the tuck shop. Okay. Now that is using the very same equation. They're saying it is clear that the tuck shop needs to sell 40 pies to cover their overhead costs and break even. That is the fixed cost. That is what they are referring to. They need to sell 40 pies to cover their overhead costs and break even. Also, when they sell 100 pies, their profit, okay? When they sell 100, where do we go? 100 pies. That 100 is Q. We take that 100, we put it in the place of Q, we multiply by 15. 15 times 100, what is it? 1,500.
1,500.
Minus 600 is 900. Do we agree?
Yes, but sir, where is it clear that they need to sell 40 pies?
40 pies. Okay.
Yeah, because it
Now,
says it's clear that, okay, the tax shop need to sell 40 pies to cover their overhead costs, but I don't see it in the calculation.
all right. Now, probably they think that we see it. 15 times 40, what is it?
600.
600. That means if they sell 40 pies, remember what they said here. The first line. A tuck shop at the station has fixed cost of 600 per week.
Okay.
That,
Yes.
that 600 will cover
Fixed cost.
the fixed cost per week. Now, that means that is why they are saying, that's why they are saying it is clear from the graph that this shop needs to sell 40 pies to cover their overhead costs and break even. That means after selling 40 pies, they will be able to cover the fixed costs.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
which will be 600. In the place of Q, let's put 41. What will we get? In this formula, 15Q minus 600. Meaning it will be 15 times 41.
615.
Minus 600.
And 15.
15. Now, that's why they're saying then this, where are we? Then this tuck shop then will break even at 40, because beyond 40,
They're making profit.
yes.
Okay, I get it now.
All right, thank you. Now, let's continue. Let's look at this activity. Or maybe, let's not look at this activity. Let's go and we'll do them at once. Let's go to the next section, if it is okay with you. Should we do these activities or should we continue with the other subsections that are covered in here? You will guide me.
Maybe in the interest of time, we should just move on a little bit.
Okay. We'll do this with the others at once. Let's look at demand and supply. They say the level of economic activity in an economy is determined by the decisions about demand and supply that consumers, firms, and the government make. These decisions play a vital role in business and consumer activity, and we need mathematical tools to analyze them. There is something that I need to share with you here. The level of economic activity in an economy is determined by the decisions about demand and supply that consumers, firms, and the government make. We've got three people here, or three stakeholders. We've got the consumers, we've got the firms or companies, we've got the government. These decisions play a vital role in business and consumer activity, and we need mathematical tools to analyze them. Okay. In this module, we consider the simplest models of demand and supply, where the demand for and the supply of a product depend on price only. All other variables are considered to be constant. For example, demand may be affected by consumer income, price of a substitute or supplementary good, level of advertising. This is what I need to say. Do we agree that these three stakeholders, the consumers, the companies, and the government, are interrelated? Yes or no? People, are consumers operating in isolation from the companies? Are companies operating in isolation from the consumers?
No.
And is the government operating in isolation from the consumers and the companies?
No, they're not. They all work together.
They work together. Thank you. Now, I'm looking for a very familiar situation that shows that these three stakeholders work together. Let me give you a typical example. There is one of the most famous companies in the country. I'll give you a hint. The hint is to say it was in different types of social media, different types of media platforms, news, where we even have it within our country, where this company needed to increase prices, and the government for that particular company, the government for that particular country, for that particular country that we are interested in, said, if you intend to increase the prices, then you better leave our country. We're given the option to keep the prices as they were instead of increasing them. The options were to keep the prices as they were or reduce them, unlike increasing them. Any company that you can remember? I'm just trying to show that what we are talking about, it is not witchcraft. It's things that are affecting you and I on a daily basis.
Nothing comes to mind. I can't remember a company that had to leave.
The company is operating in our country, in this country currently, and it has been in this market for a number of years. And then almost all of you are using its services. Almost all of you.
Which industry is it?
Let me say, let me say 99% of us in the country are using the services for that company. In our homes. Which one can you think of? Oh.
90. Please repeat the question, sir.
I'm saying there is a company that 99% of us here in the country are actually using its services. This company was operating, or is currently even operating in Malawi. It needed to increase its price. It needed to increase its prices, but the government in that country said no. Instead of increasing prices, better keep the prices as they are, or else leave the country.
Is it ESCOM?
No.
Company operating in Malawi.
Yes. We have it here. It's operating here. Almost all of us are using its services.
What type of services are we using, sir?
In our homes.
So is it a DSTV?
Yes. Which company is offering those services? Yes, it is that company.
Multi-choice.
Yes. Yes. People, I mean, Faima, that's why I said to you, we are part and parcel. We consume the services or the products actively or passively. We are part of what is actually taking place. Are we not?
So we are, but when you start adding
we are, sir.
Q's and A's and times, P's and those type of things, that's when you lose us.
So I think next time just try to be specific, and then yeah, we can come up with the answer. Not 100% specific, but then yeah, just come with close.
Oh, almost close. Okay. I mean, sure. How should I say? I mean, the advice that I can give you, don't see these things in isolation. View them as they are taking place. Visualize them. But then when you start to visualize them, you realize that, these things are things that are actually taking place indeed. Then they will become easy for you.
Okay.
Okay, in this three, I said the government, the consumers, and the firms. In this case, is the firm, which is multi-choice. The government is the government of Malawi. The consumer are the consumers in that country. Is it not making sense?
It's making
It
sense.
makes sense, yes.
Until you start to see these things and then make sense out of them, then they will continue to be difficult for you. Okay, let's continue. Supply may be influenced by cost of production. Cost of production. Let's focus on the very same company that we talked about. Cost of production, price of other goods, available technology, taxes or subsidies. Tax or subsidies, maybe company is heavily taxed in that country. Available technology, maybe you may find that they're spending a lot of money in terms of them sourcing technology that they will need to apply in that particular country. The price of other goods that they themselves are using for operating their business in that country. Cost of production can be included in there. Demand. The term demand represents the quantity of a product or service, still represented by Q, that consumers would buy at a certain price, which is P. The demand for a product is negatively related to the price that is asked for the product. That is, the quantity demanded decreases when the price increases. In reality, under constant situation, is this true or not? To say the quantity demanded decreases when the price increases?
It's true, because the more expensive it is, the less people will want to buy it.
I agree with you. We agree. Now, give me any example where when things are expensive, then we have got less people interested in buying. Any example before we stop?
You
Hello,
can
sir.
look at the price
Hello?
of meat.
Price,
Okay.
hey, Faima. Do you think they stop?
No, personally, when the meat prices go up, I buy less meat.
Okay. Any other one?
I would say clothing brands. Some of them overprice certain clothes because of the brand rather than the actual quality, which makes people want to buy less of it and opt for a cheaper product that still has the same type of quality.
Who's talking?
Collins, sir.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, my brother. I agree with you. One of them is clothes. Colin, you are quite right to say, if I need to buy a jean, okay, there is this jean that costs these thousands, and I don't have them. But I can get a jean for a very cheap price, not a reasonable price, for a cheap price. So if I can't afford that one that costs thousands and thousands, okay, I'll go for that one. That is very cheap. Another, thank you, Colin, for bringing in the clothes. Another example, what can it be?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Like when I reflect on the epidemic we had, COVID-19, the
Yes.
price was spiking higher, yet the demand was also high as well. Because we couldn't get access to most of the things we needed, but the price still went higher while the demand is still high.
Yeah.
Look at the example of alcohol.
Yes.
It was closed, it was banned for a period of time, and then people who had excess of it, they wanted more of it at a higher price.
Okay, let's use the, who's talking?
It's Bongana, sir.
Okay, Bongan. Let's use the example that you just shared with us of a pandemic that we just emerged from, using the example of liquor. Bongan, liquor was banned during COVID, no?
Yes.
And then, okay, liquor was banned. The demand was high. Then those who laid their hands on the liquor that was available around were requested to pay a very high price.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now this is the situation. People are under lockdown. Most of them are looking for this liquor. Brewery, I don't know whether brewery was manufacturing beer or not. Okay, somehow it shows that, I don't know whether the brewery continued to brew, or the breweries sold what they had in stock during that period. That one I'm not sure of.
I think they were selling the inventory, sir.
They
Yeah,
were selling the
so
inventory.
yeah, also depending on the company, I think a lot of it they started having to export more in order to keep their companies afloat.
During COVID.
Because yeah, because other countries didn't have a ban on alcohol during COVID.
I'm raising this now. Remember, even this goods that we're receiving from other countries. Remember, there was less movement of goods between countries as well.
Yes, sir.
Now, if during that period, this country banned the sale of alcohol, do you think that they would have allowed the movement of alcohol into the country?
No.
No. So now, let's go back to Bongani. Then what can then just come to our minds is to say, those people were selling the inventory. If during that period, they were not brewing. So it is the inventory that they were selling at a high price. So there was less, but the demand was high. That's why the prices skyrocketed. Is it making sense?
Yes, it's making sense, but just the statement that the demand is dependent on the price is negatively related to the price. So in this situation,
Yes.
what do you say about demand?
Demand is high. Oh, okay. Ideally, okay, this is okay. Bongani, I hear you. The demand was high for alcohol. The supply
The supply
was
was
not
less.
that much.
Yes.
The supply was less. That's why the price shot up. Are we in agreement then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now,
Okay.
is it making sense in this case of the beer, of the liquor?
Yeah, it's making sense.
Now, let's talk about the property market. When the interest rates are high, when the interest rates are high as they are currently, what is happening in that property market currently? Is the demand high or low? Since the prices are high.
I think it's low.
It's low because people have to pay more in order to secure, in order to pay their mortgage. So that market currently, let's say under normal circumstances, we didn't actually do a survey, but under normal circumstances, everything taken to be constant, when the interest rate go up, when people tend not to be able to afford, then they tend to sell because they can't afford. And then less people during that period are able to afford. So as the prices go up, the demand becomes less for purchase. There are those who are selling as well. I need you to see it from that angle, not only from one angle. Are we together on that one?
Yes, sir. They say that
Yes, sir.
at the time it becomes a seller's market and not a buyer's market.
It becomes a seller's market. Yes, that's why I'm saying I'm bringing it from 2 points of view, not only 1 point. Yes. then we agree on that one. On that note,